Okay, we are live, I believe, and let's see. Matthias, good to see you. And there are 43 people already. That's awesome. It is 8 o'clock in the morning here in Norway. So I thought I would just tell you that I'm a bit grumpy today. Now, why is that? Why am I being grumpy? Well, when I woke up this morning, I realized I was not out in the woods. I was in a house, my house, and at least I'm in my own house. Uh, but sorry, yeah, that was a big disappointment. Big disappointment. So that's just how it is. So you will have to excuse me. Okay, um, let's get straight to the point here. Which ideology is the most deadly? What would you say? Which ideology is the deadliest that we know of? Which one is it? It is sort of a trick question, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Christian, climate hysterics, fascism, Marxism, wokeness, communism. Yeah, I'll get demonetized maybe because now I just said all the bad words, didn't I? Oh dear. By the way, someone was very disappointed with me because of this one. This is a dog toy. A dog toy. But I had it hanging on the bookshelf here, and someone was very disappointed because I'm not a Christian, and then why do I have the cross on my bookshelf? It's not a cross; it's a dog toy. Some people. um, okay, no, it's actually a lobster. It's a lobster, and it was sent to me by a very kind lady. But I haven't. You see, my dogs they will shred it, and I so they have other toys. And uh, Captain Solo, thanks a lot for the super chat. That's very kind of you. Okay, I believe that the most deadly ideology is statism. What's statism? Statism. What's that? Anyone know what statism is? Some people will now go to uh, the that fountain of knowledge, objective knowledge, Wikipedia. So statism is, and I'll read the Merriam-Webster definition. It's a concentration of economic controls and planning in the hands of a highly centralized government, often extending to industry. That's a common definition of statism. So it is often seen as a not really an ideology, but a way to structure the economy in a nation. And um, very often you will see that socialist countries have a higher degree of statism than more capitalist countries, but not always. Not always. It's not automatically like that. So, why do I think that statism is so deadly? Well, that is because, well, what's happening now? Let's look at the world right now. um, Now, someone here writes secularism. Secularism is not an ideology, so please get things right there, okay? So now we've finished with that now, and there is not a delay here. So I already said what we're going to talk about, and statism is the topic. Statism is more widespread now than it used to be, at least in modern history. There is something called state capitalism as well. If you look at the Scandinavian countries, they have a very high degree of state capitalism. So in Norway now, people are being taxed into oblivion while the state, through ownership in the big companies and so on, and of course through taxes, the state is getting richer and richer and richer, and those money is used to invest uh, internationally. The Norwegian Oil Fund, if you haven't heard about that, you should look it up. Look it up, as people tend to write. Look it up. It's one of the biggest investors in the world. I think it's among top 10. I think it is among top 10. Now, why is statism so deadly? Well, it extends further, you see. It's not only about economy. And most people would agree when I say that when statism is allowed to take hold or to grip a nation, if you will, it will extend to all areas of your life. It will extend to how children are raised. It will extend to what you eat. It will extend to how you live your life in general. And this will be controlled through taxes and certain rules and regulations. It will also lead to things like, what's that short word? War. People don't go to wars, they don't start wars, nations do. And that's extremely important to understand. Um, now we're getting very close to libertarianism. I do not believe libertarianism is a very good idea. It might look good on paper, but I do not support that ideology. But I would say that statism is worse. I will say that statism is worse. And what we are seeing in Europe now is something that could not have happened if we did not have a very high degree of statism in the nations, the European nations. This gets even worse when you have statism extending across a continent. Then we're talking about globalism. So not everyone will agree. That's okay. I always use the ban hammer and I kick people off the platform, not the platform, but the channel, if they disrespect people and if they disrespect me in the chat. That's just how it is here. I still haven't got the hammer. I was thinking I should have like a physical hammer, and it would say ban hammer on it. I thought that would be fun. Um, so, um, who is disrespecting you? I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any. Not now. I'm talking about other times. You know, it's been rough in the chat sometimes here. You see, yeah. Um, now, Thor's banhammer. Yeah. Now let's see here. If okay, I think it's okay. I think it looks okay. Now, some people will argue that you need a degree of statism in a country. I agree. You need a degree, some degree of statism. You need some control in a country. There is a concept called the night watch state, and I think that a government or the state should keep citizens safe, and there should be some rules so that, for instance, I do not think that it should be up to each and every individual how much alcohol they drink, for instance. Well, they can drink as much as they want, but what I'm talking about is uh, drinking and then doing stuff like driving a car. That needs to be illegal. And I think it's insanity if you disagree on that, because you could kill people, right? So obviously, we need some rules, and they need to apply to all the citizens, even the politicians in a country. Now, so the problem becomes, so statism becomes a problem when you have the state extending that power into areas of people's lives that they should not touch. So, for instance, I talked about military draft earlier. It is defined as a violation of human rights, actually. And in Norway, we have this idea that both women, both girls and boys, at the age of around 19, they must be in the military and defend Norway against the evil people in the east. So we have this naive idea that that's going to solve anything. It's not. That's not going to happen. It's very naive, and it's a form of control, controlling the citizens, controlling families. And I mean, when I was in school, Norway was not secular. So I had to sit there and listen to all this Christian mythology uh, hour after hour. And there was no choice. I couldn't choose not to. So that was a bit of a problem for me, as you can imagine. And it was a result of statism. The state had decided that that was how it was going to be in schools back then. Luckily, Norway is now very much a secular country, so we don't have that. It's not as bad now, I should say. But if you look at, and I'm going to be careful now. Oh yeah, the Christian people will get all crazy now. But no, not all Christians, but some, some. If we look at, and I'm going to be careful now, okay, the war in the Ukraine. So I might be mistaken here, but what I've heard is that if you are a man, you're not allowed to leave because they will need you in the army to fight in the war, right? That's a good example of statism. That's saying that the state owns you, right? And it's very difficult to argue against that. Well, against the fact that it means that the state believes that it owns you. You can be used as a soldier to fight in a war. And if you don't agree with the strategy or the war or things like that, you still have to do it, or else there will be punishment. That's statism. Now, if we look at world history, people tend to say that, well, religion is the cause of the most terrible wars. It's a bit simplified when you say it like that. I would say that yes, it certainly has been used as motivation and justification for wars and atrocities, genocide, and so on. But you couldn't really have that without statism, because you need some organization of the whole thing, and that's normally being done within the state or extended into a globalist understanding of that organization. So you could have, for instance, the Pope saying to all the Christian nations, now a little bit back in time, right? Not now, but let's go back to the Crusades. The Pope would say that we need to do this and that, and people would obey, you know. Um, and I'm stretching the definition of statism a little bit, I guess. But again, you know, statism is a widowmaker. Statism is a killer of men and women, and it's a horrible ideology. And myself, I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you a secret. I define myself as a theoretical, that's an important word there, theoretical anarchist, right? So people have been asking, what's your political leaning? Well, I don't really have any, because if I believed that anarchy would work, I'd say we should go for that. But I do not think that it would work, because there are so many idiots around, and it would probably result in when people say it would result in anarchy, uh, that's what it would result in, if you know what I mean. But theoretically speaking, I think that's the only morally sound organization of a group of human beings, right? But anyway, um, yeah, it's actually it's a very interesting discussion to be had concerning anarchy, and would it work, you know, because there is at least one example, a very famous one that I can think of, where it has worked. That's Iceland 1200s, but it did also degenerate into blood feuds and yeah, horrible things. So yeah, um, what's wrong with libertarianism? You mean? Well, a lot. But as compared to anarchy, okay. Well, that's again a big discussion. I think we'll leave that for another live stream. I will now reply uh, to your comments if I can. Let's see here. Okay. I'll just scroll a little bit. Trond Arnfinn says something. Thank you for that comment. Says something very, very important here. Christianity was an example of statism in Norway in the Viking Age. Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see here. So Perry says, but surely as a man, you'd want to stay and defend your homeland. What if I don't want to do that? What if my homeland is not here? Then what? Doesn't matter, because you have to. So Kay Davis says Christianity wasn't peaceful. Well, it certainly was not. Um, yeah, Thomas, I absolutely agree in what you're saying here that the nation should provide military training, but joining the armed forces should be voluntary. Yeah. Um, now, okay, it's a little. Just scroll down. I'll just scroll down because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand the context because people are talking with each other here in the chat, which is wonderful. Um, yeah. Well, also, Mad Guardian says would be nice to get closer to direct democracy. The little people more to say. Again, interesting discussion. I think that well, I my least popular live stream was the one about democracy and why it's better. And people don't understand what democracy is, or rather, they don't understand what parliamentarism. Uh, sorry, a republic is. So I won't repeat myself, but a democracy is a process, right? And it must work within a frame. That frame is typically a constitution. Uh, uh, and uh, yeah, so let's see here. Okay. Hi there, Mr. Sopos. Good to see you, as always. Um, Yeah, Perry, let me tell you that if you look back again, world history concerning uh, as a man, you must stay and fight. Where is your loyalty if you have to choose between defending your family and defending your nation? Because those two things will probably not be the same. And when that choice is taken away from you, then we have statism. Then we have a condition where the state believes that they own you. So they will remove you from your family. They might even send your family into some camps where they might be safe, maybe not, and you will have no say concerning that. Um, okay, yeah. Afroshinix says, "What if defending your family is downstream from defending your nation?" I understand that as you're saying pretty much the same as what I said, I believe. This idea that you will be standing at the front line defending against an enemy and behind you are your family, it doesn't work that way. First of all, who's your enemy? Is it an invading force? Well, very often it's not. Very often the enemy is your own state. Now, I'm not referring to any particular situation. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this idea that we must defend against this enemy out there, it's highly naive. Um, I mean, so there's a very famous poem, Norwegian poem, Terje Vigen, a Norwegian poem. And the story is that this man he I think he travels in his boat to get food, and then he comes home, and the English fleet has established a blockade outside of the Norwegian coast, and he is captured. His family starves to death. That's how the story begins. Um, and it's important to understand that, and I'm not saying you don't understand, but it's important to understand that we all must understand that who is the enemy. It's not black and white. These things are, I believe that the state, your own government, more specifically, in a time of crisis, it will be defending the nation and its own people, not the people of the nation, but I'm talking the government and so on. And that's the highest priority. People will be, well, I don't even have to finish that sentence. So, now, okay, so what we learned during COVID was that statism is a very strong force, okay? That's a good example of statism. The state, the government, just deciding like that, well, you have to close your business now. And then, well, what am I going to do for a living? Well, we don't care. Starve. And now, um, today, these imbeciles, no, sorry, these people that runs this country or pretend to run this country, you know, today we have this situation where they are raising prices of food. That's happening today by a lot, and the food was already expensive. Now, I'm not a socialist, but I don't think it's fair that food should be that expensive. It could be cheaper because they add, and they are going to, if they haven't already, increased the taxes on food. It's added to the price, right? So they could say that, well, there will be not there won't be taxes on food, okay? Or if they suspect that grocery stores would then just keep the prices at that level and take the extra money, they could say, like the government can say that every month you get we pay back the taxes or something like that. So the food could be cheaper, and it's not fair that it's that expensive. It's not fair. Now we have, we both have a good income here, so we're okay. But it's like it it it's it's just a it's just painful when I think about the fact that hardworking people are now struggling to get proper healthy food on the table. That's that's horrible. In a country like Norway, where the state is getting immensely rich, as I mentioned here. Um, so yeah, and I think this is the case in many countries. Jason says people needs to be more independent from the state. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, they increased my taxes. Yeah, yeah. So I knew this was going to happen, of course, but it's like it's almost doubled now. Last year I still had some debt, 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 debt loan in the bank. I can't say that word. Debt, debt, debt. And then I paid it all. I didn't want to have any of that anymore. So which increased my taxable income. And then they also increased the tax level, of course. So it's brutal now. It's brutal. From September, the rest of the year, I think it's about September, I work for the state. They take all my money, everything from around September. And you know, I I have my own company, and my company, I pay myself salary, right? So I can control that, but it's like they just it's even though I do even though I can control how much I get every month because I decide, then it's still like you do need some money. You can't keep all your money in your company. Um, so yeah, but I know it's not the popular thing to complain about taxes. It's not popular, but it's actually very important to understand that moving forwards, taxes will be used to take everything away from you. And some people will shake their head when I say that, but really, I mean, get real, as they say. Um, you will own nothing and you will be happy, right? Well, it seems like the goal is that you will own nothing. And that's a horrible thing. Veronica, thanks a lot for that donation. You're writing that we must be physically, mentally, and spiritually prepared. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'll just scroll down. Yeah, death tax. A tax for dying, if that isn't statism. Yeah. Uh, so just I don't want to get too personal, but it's like we we have what we need here. Like we don't. I mean, what I make, all the money I make, except what I need to, in daily life, it's just going directly to my children. That's I think that's the most sensible thing to do, and I think it's sensible if you're able to channel money to your kids. I think you should do that now. It's going to be very hard in the years ahead of us. Are there blue eyes? You're writing, glad to catch you live. That's well, glad to see you. Wonderful. Um, well, yes, I have certainly read the Agenda 2030. Yeah, let's see here. Mr. Sorpos is asking, I'm kind of curious on how much of our tax money ends up in Klaus's wallet. Yeah, that's interesting. If we expand on that a little bit, how much of our taxpayer money is going to international or globalist organizations or um, yeah. Dramir is asking what are views on atheism. I'll try to reply to that at the end here if I can remember. Um, yeah, it would be nice. Miss Honeybee is saying, please like and share. It matters. Yes. Now, by share, I mean share. Use the share button. Some people download my live streams and put them on their channel. That's illegal, and it will certainly result in that you have your channel removed. so don't do that. Um, Trond says, "Gjeld is the Norwegian word for depth. I think it's funny to say depth, but gjeld is the Norwegian word." um, okay. Oh yeah, they think also they do steal, and then they hold up their arms and they're saying, "Look, I'm doing you a favor. I'm advertising for your channel." When you catch them, you know. Yeah. So yeah, let's see here. The old father watch over you. Thank you, Rich. Thank you. I think lots of people. Just a few words concerning atheism. I think lots of people do not understand what it is. I would recommend reading Dawkins would be good to read to understand what atheism is. Again, I am saying that yes, you should read the books, and you should also read books with a different, coming from a different angle, or from people with a different view of things than you have yourself. Uh, it's kind of important. Uh, yeah. Joseph, thank you for those kind words. Yeah, I on the main channel I have a million views or something like that on this video, where I read from an article and I ask people if it's real. Well, it's the article is real, but is it like satire, or is it really someone who believes this? That the unpoked must be blamed for not warning the poked. I lean towards, well, first I lean towards satire, but now I'm not so sure. I don't know. I honestly don't know. If I had to bet, maybe satire. But there's this thing where people will write crazy stuff, and they halfway believe it. They That's how they think, and if they're caught writing something ridiculous, which this was a good example of, they can just say, "Oh, it's now it's just a joke. It's a satire." I see that a lot actually. Um, let's see. Yeah, Norway has a ton of oil. That's true. Maybe not sharing with Norwegians. That's also true. The state gets very rich, and at the moment, Norwegians are getting poorer. Yeah, Hall 9001. Yes, I think it's important to read a lot of different ideologies. Uh, well, it's just important to do that, you know. And I see a lot of people, they are writing, they get mad at me. Oh, how can you not be a Christian? And they get so upset. Uh, and haven't you read the Bible? Or my favorite, if you had read the Bible, you would have, and then something, you know, become a Christian, or uh, believed in God, or something like that. Um, and it's like that's actually very offensive. I'm a novelist. Don't you think I read books? It's like, well, have you read Origin of Species? Have you? I mean, if you're telling me that I should read the Bible, well, have you read The Origin of Species, for instance? Have you read that book? But anyway, um, they are mentally lazy. So, so okay. Is there an energy crisis in Norway? No, no, there is no energy crisis here. But the thing is, they are selling the energy that we produce here to other countries. So the day they started, they connected to those cables to Europe, and that day the prices of electric power in Norway made a jump, and it's been very high since then. But we could just close those cables and be self-sufficient with electric power. Yeah, well, it is important to study other people's point of view, but there is a like, for instance, I would say that it's like should be almost obligatory to study the works of famous atheists, re- mythological texts like the Quran, the Bible, and so on. Um, but there's a limit to. I mean, I've had a lot of flat earthers. Yes, I never thought I would have to say that, but yes, I've had a lot of flat earthers coming to my main channel and making a mess in the comment section, and you can't. There needs to be a minimum of it. If you're below, if you're under here, I will actually not listen to you. Okay, you need to be above. So, for instance, if you say that I believe that the Earth is flat because other people told me so, and I'm indoctrinated, you're down here. Okay, but if you say that I believe that God sparked the creation of the universe and made it all start, you're up here, because that's a very interesting discussion to have. How did it all start? And that atheists and Christians and so on can discuss that, have a civilized conversation about that. It's we don't know the answer for sure, so that's up here, right? But there needs to be like if it's completely stupid and there is no logic to it, then I will not bother uh, with it at all. Having said that, I think it's fun to look at conspiracy theories, like because it's like it's flat Earth is one of those. This young Earth thing is that's maybe not a conspiracy theory. It's just a crazy idea. Um, Hollow Earth. My favorite is Hollow Moon. Actually, Hollow Moon. The moon is hollowed out, and they are living in there, and they are doing something sinister. And the lizard people, and it's fun, but that's we're not supposed to discuss things like that. It's well, you can if you want to, but it's kind of silly. um, but yeah, it's kind of fun, you know. Yeah, Hollow Moon is funny. Yeah, well, because the flat earthers, they made such a mess in the comment section on that video, and they did that because I used it as an example of something totally ridiculous. Um, and because of that, YouTube suggested to me videos where like proper scientists are responding to these videos where the flat earthers are using what they call science and so on to prove that the earth is flat. And I think maybe there's something with the school system that failed. Um, and also, I don't know. I don't know what has happened there. You know, my own theory is that the Earth is not round. It's not this shape here, but it's like a cone, right? It must be a cone, and I'm sure that I can make some mental gymnastics to prove that the cone Earth, like, and the Earth is on the top, right? So no, who cares what shape it is? Well, a lot of people care. We are, if it had not been the shape that it is, things would have been very difficult here. Um, are we really getting flat earthers here? Um, yeah, there are more people believing in that than I realized actually. Uh, yeah, yeah, okay. I don't know what no mandatory service requirement. I don't know what you mean by that. Uh, oh, we are getting some flat earthers here. I thought that would be okay. Okay. Uh, Perry, what's this? Christians against dinosaurs. Okay. Well, actually, a lot of this can be if you have an open mind and you are curious and you go out in nature, a lot of this, how the world works, can be observed. And I saw one that was the young Earth thing, and it's like they said something like there is collagen, like with in fossils, in all the fossils, and that proves that they are not that old. Well, did you know that I have actually been, when I was a little child, there was a place where we could still find fossils. Yeah. And I found one. And I still remember that. Now, I don't know where it is now, but it was down in the Oslo fjord, right by Oslo, actually, right by the city. And we would walk down there and dig for fossils on the beach there. Um, and that was a solid print, like you've seen these fossils, right? And a little sea creature. And I wish I had kept that one. I can't. Maybe it is lying around somewhere in my yeah. Oh, Christoph Christophosaurus dinosaur says I found fossils as a kid too. Yeah, I don't. I think I think now is it like you can't really go and dig for fossils? It's like you should. Are there any? I mean, if everyone did that, then they would be gone, right? That's what happened in on that beach. Um, oh, they manufacture the fossils. Oh yes, in England there are lots, and I still remember that. And here's the thing: I think that if I had had the fossil in my hand now, it would probably not have been as grand as I remember it because I was just a little child. Um, and it's very subjective what you remember. And also, I was much smaller, so the fossil would maybe seem bigger, you know. Um, yeah, evolution is very interesting as well. Uh, yeah, and there are people who don't believe in evolution. That's a process that can be observed, like in real time. It it moves slowly, of course, but yeah, it's like there is no relationship between human beings and apes, right? A lot of people believe that. And those of you who saw what I did there with my thumb, you will know what I'm talking about. Okay. um, I will just um, ask, not pointing my finger at anyone here. Well, I could have used my finger as well, my this finger as well, not only my thumb. Uh, did anyone get that point I made there? Please be kind to each other. Um, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, um, we yeah. No, I think we are. I started talking about statism, and I think statism it's important to understand what it is, why it's becoming more accepted, why we should not accept it. Well, we need some degree of statism, if you will, in a country or in any group, but it should be very limited, if you ask me. And right now, we're seeing it's out of control. And I think during COVID, we saw that people they showed their governments that they will accept a very, very high degree of statism. They just went along with the rules. And the rules were idiotic. They were unscientific and insane. But I think you could have asked people to, if the government had said that before you enter a store, you must stand on one leg, jump up and down, and close your eyes 3 times and say Ave Maria or something like that. No, they wouldn't say that, but you get my point. Um, and people would have done that. Boondock says, I'm a scientist, the earth is round. Yes, I agree. Well, actually, isn't it like it's wider around equator, equator than the other way around. So it's not like a perfect circle, I think. So Glasgow says, having done land surveying, I can tell you it is absolutely not flat. Um, yeah. Um, Alison, that's a good question. Have you done a garden tour of things you are growing? Um, yes, but that's like a couple of years ago on the main channel, and I could do that again. Um, I could do that again. I'm learning something new every season, and yeah, I'll try to remember that. Hall 9001, thanks a lot for the donation. Uh, such a pleasure to listen to. Well, thank you for that. And read the comments. Yes, there are lots of there's this awesome group of people here in the chat, and yes, and I'm reading the rest as well. Thank you for that. Um, Can you talk about 15-minute cities if you haven't already? Yeah, let's finish this live stream by a short chat about the 15-minute cities. Now, I have talked about that on my main channel and probably here as well. Yeah, so a good point there. A little bit of government isn't possible because it always devolves into more state. That's a very good point. I would love to comment more on that, but let's just get to the 15-minute cities. And for those who don't know, what's a 15-minute city? It's this concept that you will have everything you need within 15 minutes walking or bicycle distance from where you live. And it sounds wonderful, right? And I think it's awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. But here's the thing, it's not only that. Also, you will not be allowed to use your car more than, I think, like in Oxford, which will be a 15-minute city from next year. I think it's from next year. You will be allowed to use your car 100 days, 100 days, less than every third day. Yeah, a year. Of course, you can use public transport and your bike and so on, like bicycle. But what we're talking about is actually restricting people's movement. And now I love to hike, like walk. I love to walk. I walk with the dogs all the time and I go hiking and camping. I can tell you that I wouldn't want to always have to walk or use public transport away when I want to go somewhere. So the problem is, of course, that this is the first step in towards a much more totalitarian way of. It's a first step towards living in a much more totalitarian state. If you take away people's freedom of movement, you have taken away most of their freedom. Now, I absolutely support things like in the city center, there should be only a few streets with where you can drive, so that most cities are like that already. Like at least in Europe, like in the core of the city, where you have all the stores and restaurants and stuff. You don't have cars there, so you park your car and then you walk like 5 minutes to the store or your restaurant. That's sensible, right? But this 15-minute city is insanity. Pedestrian friendly, yes, that's what I'm talking about, and I think that's sensible, you know. Yeah, 15-minute cities are called small towns. Well, it's not exactly the same in this context. And you're writing that why not support small places and their infrastructure instead of cramming people in big cities and centralizing everything. Very good point. Now, where I live, this could be a 15 minutes, not town, but 15-minute town. But what has happened here is centralization. We still have a school here, but they closed down both the grocery stores. That has happened while I've been living here. And well, it's a very small place. But we now have to drive for some distance to buy groceries. So yeah. If you're hearing a loud bang now very soon, it's up there. They are blasting out some rocks. Did you hear that? Yeah. So I think the 15-minute city is just the first step towards having people accepting not having freedom, if you know what I mean. It will be a habit. They more and more people will view having a car as a luxury item, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think freedom of movement is very important, and yeah, yeah, yeah. Drink water, as you say there. It will be kind of a prison. And logistics, of course, will also be a problem. Yeah, I think we will not get into other topics. I want to thank you for joining the chat and the live stream. It's this channel is getting close to 100,000 subscribers actually. So if you can, then recommend this channel to your friends and family and whatever. That would be awesome. And I'm sure that we will get to 100,000. But of course, it's so close now. So yeah, yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, and you're all wonderful people. And thank you for joining the chat.